The controversy around Frank Ocean's 2023 Coachella set has really created some interesting discussions. Now, on one hand, there are people who are understandably upset with what happened at the festival. Frank Ocean was an hour late, and every single person there paid an expensive price to be there. A lot of people flew out from all around the world. This was a very expensive endeavor, and most of the people there went to see Frank Ocean. So you're banking all of this money into an experience, you're guaranteed something, and then you do not receive it. And now this brings us in to the other group of people who are defending Frank Ocean. And listen, let's get something straight. Frank Ocean, as a person, I don't wish anything bad on. I hope that he's okay, and I hope that if he's struggling through something, he gets better. But at the end of the day, the fact that people are trying to defend an artist who signed a contract to do a job and didn't deliver is ridiculous. And listen, this is not the first time people have just defended artists because, they love them. Obviously, this has happened with Kanye West and with a ton of other controversial music situations. So this is really nothing new. And on the severity side, this is nothing that is really morally detrimental to Frank Ocean, as you know, a Kanye West. But at the end of the day, this is something that just does not sit right with me. And what Frank Ocean did, it's not the first time an artist has done this. It's just on the biggest scale because he is such a sought after performer. So this really opens up the floor to the bigger problem right now in the live music business. And this comes back to artists just not caring that they have a job that they signed on to do. And, they wake up one day and they go, yo, I'm just not going to pull up to this festival, and I'm not going to show up, or I'm going to show up late, or I'm going to half-ass this, or I'm going to rap over pre-recorded vocals. Like, it's always something with these festivals. And honestly, at this point, I'm not going to pay hundreds of dollars to watch artists who don't care about my resources, who don't care about the goods that we are paying for. Now listen, this is not every single artist in the industry, but let me just give you a few examples. Frank Ocean at Coachella was an hour late amongst many, many other controversial choices, including not live streaming the performance. At Rolling Loud, New York, 2023, Playboi Carti was late. Nicki Minaj was late. A$AP Rocky was late. Future was late. 21 Savage just didn't show up. It's ridiculous that this is happening. These are the main cards on a festival lineup. These are the people that you are paying to see, and they don't show up. And what can you do about it at that point? Because the festival owners, they can't refund you. There's no policy if, your favorite artist doesn't show up, you get your money back, or, you get a prize. You don't get anything. That's just wasted resources. That is wasted money. That is wasted work and time. So this is really, really frustrating that there's people that are just straight out defending this. This is just ridiculous. Again, at the end of the day, no artist is forced to perform at these festivals. This is a job that they signed up to do and that they're being paid handsomely for. Again, I said this in my last video. The headliner for Coachella last year, when it was Kanye and when it was The Weeknd, they were paid $8.5 million for that performance. Think about that. You're getting paid almost $10 million. And Frank, we don't know how much he's been paid, but you'd assume it's in that ballpark. You're getting paid a crap load, a Scrooge McDuck load of money, and you're going to act like you can't show up, like you're too good to perform. And it's not even genuine when you miss these shows, when you're an hour late. And I'm not just calling out Frank Ocean here. I'm just looking at the wider issue in its entirety, because a lot of the time the apologies, there's none. And it's just, at least I showed up. Or I love this. Every single festival, every single venue has a curfew. Whether you are at Madison Square Garden or an indoor arena or you're at an outside venue like, a parking lot, which they do a lot of the festivals in, or a desert, these places have curfews. That is a real thing in most places. I think Madison Square Gardens is 11 o'clock or maybe midnight. I think it changes sometimes. I'm not 100% sure on that, but they have a curfew. And when that curfew comes, you have to close out the show and people need to leave the premise. So this is a very simple thing. Citi Field's curfew has always been 11 o'clock for the New York Rolling Louds. So ASAP Rocky comes out to his set late and the show ends like 20 minutes later because it's the curfew. And then the artists try to scapegoat the curfew as the problem. No, you should have showed up at the time you were supposed to. And it's just sad. It's just sad because the fans, the people, are the ones getting screwed over. I mean, you can clearly see that this problem is starting to become bigger as Rolling Loud is literally not even happening in New York this year. So that just really shows you how much of a mess it was last year. But this is something that needs to be fixed. And again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't have power in the industry. I don't know what could be done, maybe outside of, stricter contract rules for these artists to be more accountable at the festivals. But this is really a big problem. And honestly, I've been talking to a lot of people, and not many people want to go to music festivals anymore because they think that, oh, I'm going to go and my favorite artist isn't going to show up. And that's something that is really frustrating. I mean, imagine finding a festival that has one of your favorite artists that you can never see really any other time. You pay this premium and they don't show up. That is heartbreaking, and it's happened to me before. When I went to Rolling Loud New York in 2021, Chief Keef was supposed to perform, didn't show up. Pierre Bourne was supposed to perform, didn't show up. Lil Baby was supposed to perform and didn't show up. Playboi Carti was like 30, 40 minutes late. And even when I went to Gov Ball in New York this summer, J. Cole was like 5 minutes late. But I mean, you're going to always have some short little buffers like that. And I'm not here to, badmouth Cole or anything, because when J. Cole was just 5 minutes late, the performance was at 8 and he came out at like 8:06. He was like, yeah, I'm sorry. I just got here, just got ready real quick. I'm really excited to perform. And it was genuine. Again, it's all about the accountability and the intentions of, you being late. If you have a real reason, I mean, at the end of the day, these artists are people too. Things are not always going to run smoothly in such, a high tension and high profile business. So at the end of the day, I mean, if you are having problems, that's okay, but this needs to be more transparent. It really needs to be more transparent because I don't want to spend money to go to a festival. I mean, there are certain artists who are the definition of like true professionals who always show up. And most artists do show up. Like, this is a problem that is being, like really, really overblown because it's a lot of big names that are doing this. But most artists on a festival lineup are obviously going to be there and are obviously going to be on time. And most really do care. And if they're late, it's usually a one off thing, or there's a real reason, or they're sorry about it. Usually it is transparent. And again, just like it's unfortunate for the people, it's unfortunate for the artists to care and to show up, because let's look at Rolling Loud New York 2023 as a perfect example. I mean, Rolling Loud has done a festival in New York every single year. And after the disaster of 2022, now for 2023, there are a lot of people who are not going to be getting paid because of the way that a few artists are just caring about their live shows. I mean, already, when we look at like the denominator of live performances, a lot of the quality has went down. I mean, I have seen some performances, and I'm sure you have too. If you've ever been to a concert, if you have ever seen videos of a concert, there are some really, really lazy performers. Like, once I saw Kodak at Rolling Loud, and it was like the worst thing I've ever seen. There was no movement from him. Every single thing that he said was pre-recorded, and eventually, every now and then he'd throw in a word or two, but it was the most lame and uninspired performance I ever saw. And in an era where ticket prices are more expensive, the person who's getting screwed is me and you. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Again, And this is what really frustrates me, how some people are standing for this. At the end of the day, I mean, you're spending the money. This is your money that is being taken advantage of, that is being wasted. And honestly, I just think this is crazy. I really hope that something is done, whether artists are more accountable or whether they have to make stricter contracts with harsher punishments. I really, really do hope that something is fixed, because at the end of the day, I mean, we're seeing music festivals happen less and less, like Rolling Loud New York, which is a prime example. I mean, that's one of the biggest cities in the world, and you're not having a Rolling Loud. That's a little alarming, but at the end of the day, this really does need to be fixed. And this causes so many other problems at festivals. Now, we've had some really crazy festival events in the past couple of years. And the first one I want to look at was Rolling Loud Miami 2022. Now, when this lineup was announced, it literally looked like the most stacked set of headliners I have ever seen in my life. You had Kanye, you had Kendrick, and you had Future. And off the bat, I mean, everybody was a little skeptical, but people were buying tickets, buying flights to go down to Miami, go to the heart of Rolling Loud, and see Kanye, Kendrick, and Future, three legends, three game changers, three once in a lifetime performers, all in the same weekend. Now, Future performed, Kendrick performed, but of course, Kanye backed out, and they ended up replacing him with Kid Cudi. Now, a lot of you guys know how this story goes, as you know, Kid Cudi went on, performed, and people were literally throwing stuff at him. They were booing him, and it was crazy disrespectful. Now, let's be clear. If you did that, there's something wrong with you. You should never treat any human being like that. Like, I don't know why this even needs to be said, but like, you don't throw something at somebody, especially when they're not doing anything to you. Like, that in itself is ridiculous. Like, this man literally walked off stage because he was treated so poorly, but at the same time, to play devil's advocate to that whole situation, if you are looking at it from how do we prevent this from happening, if you're a planner for this festival, what is the main reason that caused such high tensions? Well, a lot of people bought tickets to see another artist, and not just any artist, Kanye West, who, yeah, he used to be Kid Cudi's best friend and mentor, but they were bitter rivals, and they still are, but they were literally at the heart of a really ugly public falling out at that time. And then to pour more salt in the wound, Kanye ended up showing up to that very Rolling Loud while Kid Cudi was performing at another artist stage. So you are brewing a culture that is just going to make people angry by doing things like this, by having artists pull out, and it just overall all goes back to the accountability of the festivals and of the artists. I mean, you can see how these events are connected and how the problems are made. And listen, I'm not trying to say that, the crowd was not in the wrong for Cudi, because they definitely were. But at the same time, what would you expect to happen if you literally replaced Kanye West with Kid Cudi at the time where they were beefing? I mean, that would be like if you replaced, Jay-Z at a festival back in the 2000s with Nas. Like, obviously, tensions would be high, and obviously, it would be more likely for something bad to happen. So, again, it just all goes back to this culture of artists being accountable and better planning with, stricter contract laws. Now, again, this whole situation is just really unfortunate, because we are the ones who are getting bait and switched with these lineups. We're the ones that are buying the tickets. We are the ones that are getting disappointed all the way up to the very performance where we just get blindsided that these artists are not showing up. And it's really unfortunate. I'm sure if you poll right now, if you ask people, and let me know your thoughts in the comments, I mean, you are less likely to buy festival tickets now than you were, a couple of years ago, because this is just increasingly more of a problem. And I don't know where they go from here. If the fear of paying a premium price and traveling and spending a lot of money on a trip to see your favorite artist, and you're not even guaranteed to see that artist, isn't pushing people away from going to festivals enough, the also looming fear of safety is something that is still very prevalent in people's heads, as obviously Travis Scott's Astroworld tragedy did not even happen 2 years ago. So, in its entirety, I don't know what the future of music festivals are. Now, are they going to end? Obviously not. But can there be a serious problem and can there be a creating divide between the artists and the fans? I mean, yes, it's really happening now as we've seen the public turn their back on one of the most beloved and one of the most renowned artists of the past decade. I mean, that is really something crazy. People have turned their back on Frank Ocean because of what's happened here at Coachella. So, all in all, there is a lot to be discussed. And in the end, I just hope that we get better experiences. That is the whole point of this video now. People are always mad whenever these topics come up, always want to defend their artists. And like, I enjoy all of these artists. I was listening to Ivy before I recorded this video. I'm still bumping Frank and I'm still bumping all of those other artists despite what happens in these festivals, despite how they conduct themselves. But at the end of the day, something is going to need to change, or I'm just not going to want to see them live. I mean, when you're going to a single show concert, you have a lot more of a guarantee of actually seeing the artist. But when it comes to these festivals, it's really pushing people away when these big artists, these big headliners, who are the big selling points of the event, do not show up. So listen, let me know your thoughts on this entire situation. What do you think about the current state of music festivals? How do you feel? And do you think that anything is going to change? I'm really interested to hear your thoughts because this is a serious problem. And it seems like after every major landmark festival, whether that's Airshow World Fest, Rolling Loud, and now Coachella, there is a new debate and there is a new controversy spurring up. Now, listen, thank you so much for watching. Your support means everything. We have a ton of great hip hop content like this and more focused and in depth and positive content focusing on the beauty of music and hip hop. So, thank you all. Have a great day. Mr. Fantastic, Fantastic Hip Hop, signing out.